Yum! Cardboard.
Hey everyone, Homie Game Guru back, and here's my next video on my 3D horror board game based on my own characters and taking on the evil devil there, Mephistopheles. As I mentioned in my other videos, I'm just going along with the motions, just creating as I go along. Not sure where this is going to go, but just throwing ideas out there until I have a finished game. In the previous video, I showed how pretty much plain the board was, that I created the basic 3D design, but the playing spaces were all plain. I didn't put anything in there. This time around, I made some changes to the design, actually added another layer, kind of spruce it up a bit. So here's my new game board. The first thing you'll notice versus the old one is that I kind of changed up the bottom background layer. I wanted the lava and the evil looking lightning to stick out more. Before it looked more like grass because I use a classic cemetery motif of just grass lawn. But I want to add the lava in there just to show it's more like hell-like, and then faded out the grass. So there is a bit of green. You can see that's the grass, but it's more about the lava mixing them together, interweaving them. You'll also see that now there's actual spaces with graphics on them. I just looked at different symbols online and what they mean, and incorporated them into my own type of symbols to put into the game. So just some examples of some. This one here with the open hands, this is Sanctuary. So this is where players could land and nothing happens. They're just safe there. I did these game rules where players cannot occupy the same space in most of the spaces, but some they can. And when two players or more occupy the same space, they will pretty much do things to force them into the pit. Because this game pretty much is about screwing each other over in order to make it all the way to the end and take on Satan. So this is one of those spaces where it is a safe space, but players can occupy the same space. This one with the evil-looking hand holding I believe that's a representation of divinity and the soul. That's just a miss a turn space. Also, as you will notice, I added arrows, directional arrows, which to me was important to add in because I just don't want people to just move wherever they feel like moving. There has to be a flow and logic to the game. So the arrows are all over, showing you which tombstones you could jump to. And so from the main path, there's a space there and a space down here, so you can make it to the tombstones. And then based on your die movement, you could decide where you go. And the biggest change you'll notice, oh, actually, still staying with the board. So here's the pit. You'll notice these bloody dice. I'm still playing around with the idea of how that's going to incorporate into game. Like I said, when I create, I just throw the graphics down and then decide. I call it the Kirby method, like Jack Kirby, the legend of legend in the comic book industry. Many times he just was creating the story and artwork as he went page by page. So I throw down the graphics and then I'm just deciding, okay, what does this do after I put it down? So one idea is if two players occupy the same space, they can roll. Whoever rolls the actual number shown, that player gets to stay, the other one into the pit. A subscriber of mine or a viewer of this video, of the previous video, gave me an idea as well about incorporating more competition between players, and the punishment, of course, is going into the pit. So I appreciate when people actually give me some concepts, some ideas, and I could think about it and incorporate it into the game. Again, safe spaces and other places where people can occupy space, but again, I'm thinking about the concept and what I'm going to do with it. This is simply a move forward, so if you land here, it just pushes you up to that space. Let's see, okay, death. I'm incorporating death into the game, so I actually have a death piece that will chase players around, and depending on who draws what card in the game, different players will have control over death and could hunt down other players with it. Now, the main feature of this is the tombstones. So what I've changed from the last version is now there's actual graphics on the tombstones, and each one of these graphics pertains to a card that's in the game. So these symbols, each one leads you to take one of the game cards, which I'll show in the next video. And so You see these symbols, even the double tombstones have the symbols on them. And like I said, once you land on that, you pick it up and you draw a card, and then you have to do whatever actions on the card. Now, one thing you might be asking yourself is like, okay, let's just say I land on this one here. Okay, that's a summon death. So that's when you, actually, I'm glad I showed this one. So summon death, there's the death tile. You put death, I'll put it where he could stand up on his own. So you put death, and now death is in the game, and now you control death. But, okay, now every other player knows that the death is right there, so I'm just going to make my way and try to get control of death. No, one of the rules that I've already decided to put in here is each time a player reveals these, that player is allowed, without the other players knowing, to shuffle everything around like dominoes. So every time a tombstone space is revealed, once it's put back, a player can just move things or shuffle everything around. Now, of course, that player can't look. If he's caught cheating and looking at where he's putting everything, right into the pit he goes. But everything face down, he can move it around, move it around, move it around. So each time a space is taken up, players can move those spaces around, rearrange them, like reshuffling a deck of cards. And that means, so the next player is unsure where the spaces are. Even with these 4, what I call benevolent spaces, where unlike these, the other ones that have game cards, these ones are more direct on what they tell you to do. Even though there's 4, you can move those 4 anywhere, again, and reshuffle them. So that death space that was here, it could be there, it could be there, it could be there, you don't know. So that's just another concept I'm throwing in there. And of course, what I'm going to do also beyond the game cards is elevate this, because I want, when you put your piece into the pit, I want it to recirculate back to the front so that you start from the start space again and continue on. And then I will also show you, probably in the next video, what I'm doing with death and what these spaces signify. Because just like dealing with the Lord of Darkness, just because you make it to him does not mean that you automatically win the game. The devil is unfair, and there are spaces in here that could let you automatically win the game or automatically take everything away from you. So there's still that element of chance and suspense and what the devil can do to you. But again, based on the game cards that you use during the game, you have something to counteract many of the negatives that might happen. So here it is, the next evolution. Oh, sorry, I forgot about this, the playing pieces. So I'm going to be incorporating some wood, just like death. Death is actually a wood piece. But I'm going to be doing, deciding what to do with the actual playing pieces for each player. So each player starts off, and I'm thinking about either just basically doing colors or actually putting faces on these things, like the stereotypical characters, like the jock, the ditz, the stoner, the brainiac. I don't know. I'm still deciding that. Anyways, this just gives you a rundown of the game and where we are so far. I hope you like what you see. And yeah, I'm looking forward to those who are interested in this. I know these videos are not getting many views, but for those of you who are enjoying it, I'm glad. And then I'll provide even more information on where I'm going from here and what the ultimate fate of this finished design will be. So you guys take care. Thanks for watching.